Hi JDMBAs. For those of you who haven't met me yet, my name is Jolie Rader. I'm the Director of Global Learning, and I'm going to take about a half an hour right now to go through a quick pre-departure orientation in advance of your travel to UAE to go over logistics and some other things. So this is the agenda today. We'll go through logistics, health and safety, a couple of tips, and we'll talk about academics and professionalism. In terms of logistics, first let's talk about the group flight. The group is, and that is everybody except for Michelle, is on the flight that departs on May 9th from Dulles Airport at 9:20 p.m. Normally they recommend that you arrive at the airport 3 hours before your departure for an international flight, and I recommend that as well. In particular, given that time of departure, there are a good number of flights that depart around that time, so security can be pretty busy at that time, so my recommendation is just that you plan on arriving by 6:30 p.m. I will send the itinerary to you once again in a separate email, so you'll have your itinerary confirmation number, and you can certainly log in online. You should be able to select a seat if you want to do that. All three of you have the same confirmation number, so I don't totally know how that works. You might have to wait until you get to the airport to select a seat, quite honestly, but it's certainly worth a shot. You will arrive in Dubai at 10:15 p.m. on May 10th. I have set up a pickup for you at the airport through the hotel. I'm waiting for the hotel to just confirm with me exactly who will be picking you up and where you should find them. Normally they have a driver who will have your names or who will have a sign that says Kogod School of Business outside of the baggage area for you. They also might have a sign for the hotel, which is Chelsea Gardens Apartments. I will send you all an email once I know for certain where exactly they will meet you, but that has been set up already through the hotel. Michelle, your flight is a little bit of a different schedule. You have that itinerary. You also are leaving from Dulles Airport, and you'll arrive in at the other airport at Dubai International. I've also set up airport pickup for you through the hotel, and I will again send you another email just confirming that and giving you more information about where exactly the driver will pick you up, and then you all should make sure to connect once you arrive at the hotel. So in terms of arrivals, you'll go through customs. You'll need to show your passport. You will get a visa. They'll stamp a visa in your passport. There's no cost for that visa for U.S. citizens. Sometimes when you go through customs, they will want to know where you're staying, so it's just important that you have access to the hotel information. I will send a document, an emergency contact document to you, and that will have information both on our insurance policy and also on the hotel, and I recommend that you have that with you in your carry-on when you travel. After you get off of a long flight, you're tired, and you might forget the name of your hotel more easily than you think, so it's good to just have it on paper and accessible. After you pass through immigration, you'll pick up your bag and then you'll head through customs. There's always a possibility that they might be x-raying bags. Often they don't. It doesn't add a lot of time on, though, if they are. And then you'll go through customs. That's when you'll look for the driver. And again, I will give you a little bit more information in a separate message early next week on that. If for whatever reason you can't find the driver, it's being set up through the hotel, so the hotel is the number that you will call for more information. In terms of electricity, you may find the European style plug, but most often you're likely to find the UK style outlet. It looks like this. Just important to check the voltage on your appliances. Most US appliances are only 120 volts. In UAE they use 220 to 240, which is a problem. If you try to plug in a 120 volt appliance, it will short out. So for your cell phone charger, your tablet or your laptop charger, those are going to be dual voltage. All you need is the outlet converter. They do sell voltage transformers, but I found that those really don't work well, so just bring things that are dual voltage is my recommendation. If you don't have any adapters, the hotels usually have some on hand, but it's sort of hit or miss whether or not they actually have any at the front desk or if guests have already taken them. So if you have adapters, my recommendation is that you just bring one with you. As far as phones go, You should talk to your service provider about international calling options. It's usually pretty easy to add an international plan. I have AT&T and I just log into my online account and can add international calling, data, and texting. You should not just bring your US phone and turn it on and assume that it's going to work or that it's not going to charge you a ridiculous amount of money, because it will. So just make sure that you've looked into that ahead of time. You might be able to unlock your phone and purchase a local SIM card and use it there. It might not be necessary. You're not going to be gone for all that long, and mostly you'll need to be communicating with one another. You will have internet access in the hotel and probably in some other locations as well. So programs like WhatsApp, I think the other one's called Viber, maybe, have great calling features. Skype Messenger now also has a calling feature that works pretty well. I'm sorry, Facebook Messenger has a calling feature. Skype is always a good go-to as well. So just think about what you're going to use as far as phones go and how you're going to stay in communication with people at home. Regardless of what you decide to do, though, when you're in company meetings for your project, your phone absolutely must be silenced and out of sight. So please don't fiddle around with it when you're in meetings unless you need to for a meeting. As far as internet use, again, I have already prepaid internet in your rooms at the hotel, and then there's free Wi-Fi available in the public areas of the hotel. It's always recommended that you utilize the AU VPN. You can download the VPN client ahead of time. The link is here. You will be able to get it through the AU portal. So I would download it and just try it out. It allows you to access US internet sites. It just bounces everything through the US. So it also allows you to access things like Hulu and Netflix if you want to keep on top of TV. But it's a little more secure than just using the hotel's network. So your hotel in Dubai is Chelsea Gardens Hotel Apartments. Again, I've prepaid internet. You'll also have daily buffet breakfast. I've prepaid that as well. It's in a good location. It's very close to a metro station. It's right next to a mall, so I think it will be a good, convenient location for you. In terms of finances, just to go over again what's included, the round trip flight, ground transportation, your hotel and daily breakfast, at lunches and dinners as indicated on the itinerary that Professor Bartlett gives you, the emergency travel insurance, and any cultural activities that are on the itinerary. If there are any meals that are not included on the itinerary, those are your responsibility, as is local transportation for evenings out on your own, any shopping, souvenirs, incidentals in the hotel, your cell phone charges, any supplemental travel insurance that you purchase on your own, etc. As far as accessing money abroad, ATMs are usually the best way to go, but it certainly doesn't hurt to have a little bit of US cash with you. You can exchange money at the airport in DC or in Dubai when you arrive, but the kiosks in the airport don't give good exchange rates at all. So unless you're exchanging a really large amount of cash, it's usually not that beneficial to do that. The best rates are usually from withdrawing money in an ATM. If you haven't used your ATM card outside of the United States before, it's worth it to just check in with your bank and make sure that your PIN code will work outside of the US. It is important to make sure that you've notified your bank and your credit card companies that you'll be outside of the US so that they don't think the activity is fraudulent. I have Bank of America. I know that they allow you to do that online now, or you can always give them a call. They tend to be pretty quick to shut down your cards if they see charges outside of the US and they don't know that you're traveling, so it's important to always let them know. I think it's also valuable to just be aware of what the ATM withdrawal fees are, because you're likely to be charged a fee by your bank in the US and then whatever ATM or bank that you're using outside of the US. So you should be aware of that. Also, just know what the daily withdrawal limits are on your ATM card, and just be aware of what the credit card foreign transaction fees are for your card. I always recommend Oanda's currency converter, and they have a free app that you can use offline, and I use this heavily when I travel. I depend heavily on it. It's a really good app, and Oanda tends to give the most accurate rates. Just a couple of notes on tipping here in UAE. It's kind of it varies depending upon the situation. Some companies don't allow tipping at all, but in general, what you probably need is for meals, roughly 10 to 15% of the total bill if the service has been good. Okay, as far as health and safety, the U.S. State Department has a program called STEP, the Smart Travelers Enrollment Program. And I ask that you all please complete a STEP registration before you travel. If you've used STEP before, it will probably take you max 5 minutes to log in and update your account. If you haven't used STEP, it might be more like 10 minutes to just start an account. This will get you on the email list of the U.S. Embassy in the region. They will not spam your email accounts. They do send you notifications periodically for relevant events. So if there is a strike, a public transportation strike, for example, that might impact you, they will send a notification. But they certainly aren't sending all sorts of junk to your inbox. The other thing that this does is it just gets you on the radar of the U.S. Embassy. So if there's a natural disaster, if something happens that necessitates them being able to locate all U.S. citizens or even evacuate U.S. citizens, this is how they know who's in the country, and they know how to contact you. So it's important that you do the STEP registration. Please make sure that you take the time to do that before you travel. It doesn't take very long. I always recommend that people take a look at the CDC website if you have questions about health. For the UAE, you don't need any special shots or immunizations, and you don't need to take any special medications, so there really aren't any significant health issues that impact the region, but it doesn't hurt to take a look. What I do ask that you do is that you review your own health insurance policy so that you know what your policy covers and does not cover, and in particular so that you know that your policy covers you outside of the United States. If you are on the American University Student Health Insurance Plan, you are covered outside of the United States. But if you're not on that plan, if you're on an independent plan, if you're covered through a family member, you should check with your insurance company just so that you know. On the back of your insurance card, there should be a number that you can call, and if you ask for a worldwide verification of coverage letter, they will send you a letter outlining exactly what your policy covers and what you need to do if you have a claim abroad. In general, let's say you twist your ankle or you sprain your ankle and you have to go to the hospital. You should plan on paying the doctors up front, and then you would submit for a claim when you get to the U.S. In addition, we have provided coverage for you in the ACE Emergency Travel Assistance Plan. I will send you that policy information. It's important to know that this is not health insurance in and of itself. It's meant to serve as a supplement to the health insurance that you already have. So ACE will cover things like helping to find an English-speaking doctor in the case of an emergency. For UAE, this is really not going to be an issue because all the doctors probably already speak English, but they can provide you with referrals. And let's say something more serious happens and you have to have surgery when you're traveling. If you're healthy enough to be sent back to the United States, ACE will send you back, and if you're not and you need to stay in UAE for your surgery, ACE will send a family member to be with you while you have that surgery. If you are on prescription medications, of course, make sure that you have enough to cover you the entire time that you're going to be abroad, which is only 10 days, so it's not that long. But please don't throw medications into a Ziploc baggie altogether. Make sure that they're in the original prescription bottle and that you've packed them in your carry-on with you just in case your bag doesn't make it. Same with over-the-counter medications. If you're bringing Tylenol or cold medication, allergy meds, don't just throw them in a baggie. Make sure that they're in the original bottle. If there are any medical issues that you have, it's really important that you let Professor Naqshbandi know, as he is the AU rep who will be with you, and it will help to communicate if there is any sort of emergency. So if you have an allergy to something, let him know if there are any things he needs to watch out for, or if you need to take breaks and be able to sit down and you can't stand for long periods of time, anything like that, please make sure that he's aware of it. I'll move my face a little bit so you can, oh, it's not that bad. Okay. As far as resources for sexual harassment and sexual assault while you're abroad, this is an AU program, so even though you won't be on campus, you have access to all of the same resources that you have when you're on campus. And that includes the Office of Advocacy Services for Interpersonal and Sexual Violence, OASIS, which is located in the Wellness Center. It is important that you know that if you disclose an experience of sexual harassment or assault to me, to Professor Naqshbandi, to Professor Bartlett, or to any other AU faculty or staff member, we are required by law to report that on to the Dean of Students Office and the AU Title IX officer. If that happens, the Title IX officer would follow up with you, and it's completely up to you from there what you want to do, but we are mandated to report. If you want to talk to somebody confidential, though, you can contact OASIS at AU. Their email address is here. It's oasis@american.edu, or call their number on campus at 7070, and there's somebody who will be able to speak with you. More information on OASIS is up here. You also always have the ability to contact the U.S. Department of State. The U.S. Embassy in UAE also will have a 24-hour emergency number. I will have that on your emergency contact sheet. And there certainly is somebody there who will answer the phone 24 hours a day. So if you are a victim of any crime while you're abroad, you can certainly speak to somebody from the U.S. Embassy about that. Contact information for the university's Title IX officer is here. It's out of the Dean of Students office, and there are secondary officers that you can communicate if that person is not available. The Student Code of Conduct also defines different types of misconduct, and that is available online. I'll post this PowerPoint separately so that you have access to all of the links, because I know in the video you won't do that, so I will send it to you separately. This is information on the Clery Act. It's our crime reporting. If you are a victim of a crime abroad, because this is an active AU program, it's considered on campus as far as Clery Act and crime reporting. So any reports would be included in our annual security report, and the links are below. In terms of your own personal possessions, UAE is very safe, so you should know that it's very safe, but that doesn't mean that you should let your guard down. So it's really important that you're aware of your belongings and where things are. It's very easy sometimes when you're traveling with a group of people to like drop a bag on the ground and walk away to check something and assume that somebody else in the group is going to watch out for it. But if you haven't directly told somebody to watch your bag because you're walking away for a few minutes, they might not know to do that. So don't let your guard down. Make sure that you're aware of where your belongings are. And if you need somebody else to watch your stuff, just tell them so that they know to look at it. You may want to consider getting travel insurance that will cover loss or theft, in particular if you're bringing a laptop or other expensive equipment with you. If you in general have jewelry or watches or really anything that you would be absolutely heartbroken to lose, don't bring it with you in the first place. You're only going to be gone for 10 days. You probably don't need it. So if there's something that you would be devastated to lose, just leave it at home. In general, you shouldn't carry important documents or large amounts of cash with you, and that includes your passport. You will have safes in the hotel room, so I recommend that you leave your passport in the safe in the hotel room, but make sure that you carry a photocopy of it with you. Depending upon what you'll be doing day to day, you may need your passport to get into some of the companies or some visits. If that is necessary, my assumption is Professor Bartlett or Professor Naqshbandi will let you know that ahead of time so you can bring it with you. My face is in the way again. Okay, we talked about this a little bit. Again, your safety and protecting yourself. Be aware of, I don't know how to do this so that it's not blocking. I'm just going to move my face down here for a minute. Just be aware of your surroundings. Again, UAE is very safe, but don't let your guard down. Don't do things that you wouldn't do here. So don't walk down a dark alley by yourself late at night. Just be smart about it. Don't do things that you wouldn't do at home. Make sure that you're getting into, if you get into taxis, that they're legit taxis. So if you go out at night, if you're having dinner, just ask the restaurant to call a cab for you, and they will make sure to get a legit cab for you. And again, just use the buddy system. Don't go up by yourself. Make sure that other people in the group know where you are. If you're going off on your own, look out for one another. Remember that all of the laws in the UAE apply to you. So if you violate a law, there really isn't a whole lot that we can do to help you. So just make sure that you're being careful, and if you're not sure about something, when in doubt, just don't do it. The AU Code of Conduct also applies on this program. In terms of packing tips, you generally have a 50-pound weight limitation on the airlines. So you can check one suitcase and then you can carry on a bag. Don't overpack. Remember that you might want to buy things, you might want to add things while you're there. We don't have porters or anything on the program, so you're responsible for moving your bag around. So once you've packed it, make sure that you can lift it and handle it by yourself. The rest of the list is pretty self-explanatory. Again, I'll send this to you separately so that you have access to it. If you're picky about food, I always recommend bringing granola bars or protein bars or other snacks with you, just in case you want to have access to something else that you can snack on. I also want you to have fun and think about what it is that you want to do while you're there. So getting a guidebook and reading up on what's available to you and what you might want to do in your spare time, I think is important so that you can maximize the time that you have while you're in Dubai. So it is important to remember that this is a class and you're being graded, and this provides a really amazing opportunity for you to see another part of the world. But it's important to remember that this is a class, it's not a vacation. So all of the program activities are absolutely mandatory. All of the meetings that you have set up are absolutely mandatory. Okay, you've got to be there. If anything comes up, you're sick, you can't get out of bed, whatever, make sure that Professor Naqshbandi knows that, but otherwise all those activities are mandatory. You're expected to be there. Remember that you're representing Kogod. Every interaction that you have involves developing your relationship with this organization and Kogod's relationship. So please make sure that you're conducting yourself professionally as if it was a job interview. It could be sort of a job interview. You never know where these things are going to go. So please just make sure that you're conducting yourselves professionally. I don't expect it will be a problem. It's usually not, but I have to say it. So number one thing when we talk about professional behavior is being on time. Okay, whatever is the scheduled departure time in the morning, that's when you're leaving. So if you're leaving at 8 a.m., don't mosey downstairs at 7:55 to sit down and grab some breakfast. You're leaving at 8 a.m. Okay, it's your responsibility to keep on top of the schedule. Don't bring food or beverages into the visits. Don't chew gum. Sometimes when you go into visits, in particular in the UAE, because you have some very generous hosts in the UAE, very often someone will have a table set up with drinks or with snacks for you. Don't just rush at the table and grab food. Sit down first and wait until the host kind of invites you to go up. Make sure that you're engaged in the meetings. It can be hard sometimes when you're fighting a time zone difference and you're fighting jet lag to really stay focused in all of those visits. But do your best and also watch out for one another. So if you're doing okay, but the person sitting next to you is having kind of a rough time with the time difference, nudge them in the shoulder a little bit just to kind of wake them up and keep them going. So one of the words that you're going to see commonly on here is the word ironed. Your stuff is going to be jammed in a suitcase in the bottom of a plane for a long trip over to UAE. When you get to the hotel, it's going to be pretty wrinkly. So the hotel does have irons and ironing boards. You can call down to the desk to get them. I always recommend that when you get there, you unpack, you iron everything, hang it up in the closet, and then you're good to go. These are examples of what to wear, so mostly business casual. I always recommend having one suit for more formal meetings. Dress in layers because you may find that it's over air conditioned inside in buildings, but it's actually quite hot once you get outside. I think you all know what professional dress is. These are examples of what not to wear. In particular, in this region of the world, it's important to be more modest and a bit more covered up. So ladies, you should make sure that your upper arms are covered. Closed-toed shoes, I think, are always a good option. Usually you want to be covered just below your knees. This is a part of a campaign that was going in the UAE about wearing respectful clothing, and when you walk into malls or shopping centers, you may see signs like this about appropriate clothing. So it's hot, but going out in a tank top is not an appropriate thing. There's lots of information that you can find online about this, and I recommend taking a few moments to just look into it so that you know what you should be wearing, what you'll be comfortable with. You're not going to be expected, ladies, to cover your heads or your hair or anything. People will know that you are not from UAE, and so there's no expectations on that. It's just important to be respectful. It's also important to thank the people who have taken time out of their schedule to meet with you while you're there, so please don't forget to do that. So next steps are to just go on and complete the step registration, and certainly if you have any questions for me, you know where to find me. If you have a question that you think might be shared by the other members of your team, you're welcome to email me and copy everybody so that I can respond to everybody all at once. That's helpful for all of us, I think. So that's it. I wish you a wonderful trip. UAE is a wonderful place, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun. I think you're going to have a very busy schedule. Please do share pictures with me when you come back. I always love to see pictures, and we always love to post things like that on our program page and on social media. So you know where to find me, and you know how to reach me if anything comes up. Have a wonderful trip. Safe travels. Bye.